Sundowns wins. 42 match unbeaten streak within African Football League. About to win their 7th league title. They've won a Champions League. The most successful team in terms of leagues within the PSL. But the real question is, why do they win?
But if you see the level of Sundowns at this moment, I think they're the best in Africa.
For me, it comes down to 3 things. Number 1, resources. Number 2, the technical and management teams. And then number 3, the overall leadership at Mamelodi Sundowns. Let's start with resources. Whether we like it or not, if we're being honest about football in the world, you need resources in order to make a team that is going to be the most competitive, biggest teams and win the biggest trophies. Whether you're looking at a Man City in England, a Real Madrid in Spain, and Ahly, everything bears true. And for me, resources are not just money. Money, yes, is the start of it. But resources are also your personnel. Resources are also your facilities. Resources are everything that you put into a club to make it run. It's no secret that Mamelodi Sundowns spends the most money within South Africa and are probably one of the highest spenders within Africa as a whole.
The family club won champions of Africa in 2016. Now I know because we spent more money than what we received.
But that's not the secret. Mamelodi Sundowns has learned how to spend their money correctly. This was a team that at the beginning of Motsepe's reign was made fun of. The phrase money can't buy success was used to describe the early years of Motsepe. Now yes, he won 2 league trophies at the beginning of his reign, but after that he went 7 years, finishing 4th and 9th, and we were making fun of his Sundowns because they were spending so much money, unveiling 10, 15 players every single transfer window, but not seeing it right. Not only were they getting it wrong on the pitch, even in the coaching spaces. Coaches such as Christos Stoichkov, Henri Michel, Antonio Lopez, and others came into that structure and couldn't really do anything, even though there was financial muscle behind them. But what made them different was that there was a commitment towards words that were said very early on by Ntate Motsepe, promising that he'd make this club into an African superpower. And if you follow any of the really big teams, and you go back 10, 15 years to when they started getting the success, they are no different to what Sundowns looked like. Manchester City was signing Bo Elano, Bo Robinho. They were bringing in all types of coaches and spending a lot of money. And that's just how it works out usually. Usually you can't spend that money very well. You don't know what you're building or what you're making. But if you can carry on doing it and showing commitment every single year in order to building that, learning, growing, then you're going to sit with a club that is very big and everybody will then look 10, 15 years later and say that, no man, it's unfair what this club has done. What makes running a club expensive is not the 1 year where you try and win everything. It's the consecutive years where you have to make your mistakes in order to build and grow and change and become the juggernaut that you're trying to build. And even from that perspective, being able to do it every single year, being willing to do it every single year is also something that sets Patrice Motsepe and his Sundowns apart from other teams. It's not that Sundowns is the richest team within the league. SuperSport United is owned by a multinational conglomerate that could probably put a lot of money within SuperSport United's budget in order for them to not just properly compete, but to also become the best in the league. They already have coaching experience, for example. You look at Stellenbosch, and they're owned by the richest man in Africa. Multiples richer than Ntate Motsepe. In fact, they've gone into deals where the both of them have bought into the Bulls and bought into other teams. That man could do what Ntate Motsepe does in his sleep. You have the 2 Soweto Giants, teams that might not be able to have their owners throw the money directly into the team in order for them to be so good. But in terms of creating money, generating income, making opportunities, Chiefs and Pirates are probably the 2 biggest within an African context, and they have the type of experience that you would think would rival Mamelodi Sundowns. But again, it comes down to the will, the want, and how much you're going to back your words. And that is what Sundowns has done very well with their resources. You can tell me you want to be top of Africa, but if you don't back your words with actual hard money, hard resources, then it means nothing.
Where is Rulani? And where is Wendell? Come, Wendell. You know, look, Minister, this is a South African outfit. I've spent so much money getting coaches who've won.
Secondly, they have a technical team and a management team that rivals many of the top teams, maybe in the world. As it stands, there are 24 technical team members under coach Rulani, and there are even more people above him. But it's not just numbers that makes the structure so great. What makes the structure so great is that they've paired the numbers with the right people. Listen to some of the names that come up in Mamelodi Sundowns' Brains Trust. Of course, we start off with head coach Rulani Mokwena, a bright young mind and a competent coach that has quite the future in front of him. You have in that structure Mngqiti, one of the most experienced coaches within South Africa, and someone you could say comes from the old guard. You have Michael Loftman, a young up-and-coming coach who holds a UEFA A license and is doing his UEFA Pro right now. In the management team is Fleming Berg, who serves as the club's technical director. His most recent job was 7 years as the head of Denmark's talent identification program. And his CV also includes being a scout for Chelsea Football Club. You've got Trotmoloto, a former coach TD and one of the best administrators the country has ever seen. Someone who is cited as one of the people that brought Ishushan and Piano into the limelight. Various national team jobs at different points during his career. So you already see that that is one person who has an incredible amount of knowledge within the game. You have legends like Daniel Mambush Mudau, one of the most lethal strikers we've seen, and somebody who understands Sundowns better than anybody. You have Bo Keredi Mwene, Bo Mike Tombela, and so many more names that you can mention within this group that runs Mamelodi Sundowns. The strength of the structure is that you're getting 3 different views on things. The young, new view that comes with new ideas. You have the older guard who maybe are custodians of what Mamelodi Sundowns stands for, what it was. Then you have what I call different. Guys who don't come from the South African context, but can help you get an international view on whatever you are doing. Just think about the fact that any idea that comes into that club is filtered through all of those different lenses with all of those different expertise. And also think about what they can help you with. Coach Rulani, Libo Coach Loftman may come with new ideas that maybe Bo Pratrot haven't thought about. And they can take those ideas and bring them to guys like Fleming Berg. There's surely things that Fleming has seen within Europe, within his work that side, that can influence what Trotmoloto's doing with his knowledge of the game, and maybe he knows things from the past that can benefit right now. All of that influence resides within one structure, and the most important thing is that it's separate from executive management. I've only mentioned a few names within that structure, the guys that stand out, but up to this point, I have not even spoken about the chairperson, Utlopi. I've not spoken about Motsepe in terms of that structure. Now think about our own teams. How do they compare structurally? How many people working within our clubs have the required experience, have the required brilliance? Yes, there might be 1 or 2 of them, but how many differing views exist at a club, and how many of those views are separated from the ownership, are separated from the families that run our football? Guys, Mamelodi Sundowns is also a family-run team. But think about how many times you mention Chairman Klopi, you mention Patrice Motsepe when you speak about the clubs, and think about how many names you have to go through in order to go from Rulani to executive management. Now look at your own team. How many steps does it take to get from the head coach to the MD? From the head coach to the chairperson? Why do our chairpersons have so much say in how the club runs daily? These are some of the things that our clubs need to learn in terms of a structure. It's important to bring in the right people, to bring in ideas that may fight each other in order to get the best idea, in order to run the club the best. And that is what brings me to my 3rd and final point. Mamelodi Sundowns is the best team in South Africa because of its leadership.
In the next 10 years, we hope to be in the final. Going to Japan was a huge learning experience. You could see the gap.
A lot of the time when we speak of teams in South Africa, we say that they run like businesses. Mamelodi Sundowns is the only team that is run as an actual business. Think about the different roles within the concept of a company. Shareholders and board members usually sit in a completely separate side of the business that has nothing to do with what the club does on a day-to-day basis. They then have a CEO who's tasked to make sure that the vision and mission of the club is moving towards a certain place, and that is also separate from operations, the people who are meant to be running the club every single day. That is a business.
Today it is my great pleasure to announce to you all a man who will be tasked with the role of connecting the operations across our football club, from the academy to the senior team, from football methodology to scouting. Ladies and gentlemen, please can you do me a favor and can we all give a round of applause for the Mamelodi Sundowns new sporting director, Mr. Fleming Berg.
Kloppy's role, Dr. Patrice Motsepe's role previously, was to give the club a goal and to make sure that resources are given to that. Then every now and then, however frequently, they look at the results that the club was getting and make decisions and hold people accountable. Notice how that has nothing to do with the actual running of the club. Their major role is to make sure that the goals that have been set are being achieved. Many coaches have left the Mamelodi Sundowns. Many members of the backroom staff have left the Mamelodi Sundowns, all because they have not been able to work at the level that is required. Rulani also makes this point clear when he says that he's got a job because he's winning. The moment he stops winning, he goes. The moment members of his staff, members of the management team stop doing what they're meant to be doing, they go. Very little interference, but a lot of accountability. It's very easy for leadership to come out and tell us that they want to be the best. Do they back these words with money? Yes, but also with the will to not rest on what they've done and take the easy way out. It could have been very easy for Mamelodi Sundowns to look at themselves and say, guys, we're finishing 4th, we're finishing 9th, we're a team that's not going to die tomorrow. Why are we spending so much money when everybody else is not doing the same thing? It could have been very easy for them to just sit back, but they showed years and years of perseverance to carry on doing the things, to carry on learning, to carry on getting better. And that is where leadership is incredible. Guys, a lot of our owners come in and they say the right things year 1, year 2, year 3. But then you look down 10, 15 years down the line and you don't see a team that has gotten better. You don't see a team that has kept to the promises that they made. And it's very easy to look at Sundowns 20 years after Patrice Motsepe bought the team and say that, oh guys, it's very easy. It's so easy for you guys to do it. It's so easy to take money. But you don't factor in to those years where everything was going wrong. Those years where players were not fitting in. Those years where coaches were being brought in and they weren't making a difference. Those years where you might have called Patrice Motsepe crazy for doing what he was doing. Now look at our own clubs. How many of the clubs can you really say, leadership-wise, have that commitment, have that promise that they will hold on to for years, but also fulfill? How many of our teams are actually backing up the words that they're saying when they say they want to win? Patrice Motsepe said he wants to make this club the top of Africa and worked 10, 15, 20 years to make sure that they are there. 12 years it took for them to win the CAF Champions League. Consistently spending, consistently keeping the goal in mind and not resting and not bringing down any of the requirements. Every coach that walks into Mamelodi Sundowns knows exactly what they're meant to do. Every technical director, every manager, every analyst, every player's coach, every general manager, every supporters coordinator, everybody knows exactly what they're meant to do, exactly what is expected of them, but also they know that if something happens and I am not the person that's moving this vision forward, I will get removed. The leadership of a club, the vision of a club, the goals of a club should not come from your coach. Your coach should not be setting that vision. If I go coach at Real Madrid today, I'm not deciding the success level that Real Madrid demands. They're telling me. And it's up to me to fit or not to fit. It's up to me to go and get that or not to get it, or else I'm going to be moved. The guys that Mamelodi Sundowns is competing with, Ahly, we know the stories. Coach Pitso went there and he was a winner. He went there and won 2 CAF Champions Leagues, but at no point did he get any rest in what was expected from him, from the club. They might have it at a different level, but it's no different than Mamelodi Sundowns. It may not be loud, it may not be brash, but you know exactly why you have been hired and what your goals are. Us as fans outside, I'm not even a Mamelodi Sundowns fan, but outside I know what the ultimate goal of the club is meant to be. I don't know what my club's goals are. I don't know what my coach's mandate is. I don't know what plenty of the coaches' mandates within the leagues are. I can't tell you. And I have a feeling that if I really did find out, we wouldn't be very happy. It wouldn't match the words. Overall, to close this off, I think Mamelodi Sundowns wins. And Mamelodi Sundowns wins a lot. But they win because their actions match their words. I can tell you if a club wants to win, if a club wants to lose. I can tell you without stuttering that Manchester City wants to win. Why? They've got the top coach, they've got the top backroom staff, they've got the top players. I can tell you that Real Madrid wants to win. Why? They're willing to go for the best and replace them. If you turn out not to be the best, they replace you, they move forward because that is their goal. They've backed it up with resources. They've backed it up with staffing. They've backed it up with the amount of money they're putting into equipment. They're putting into the whole thing. They're at Mamelodi Sundowns. I know my team used to be like that, but that is why Mamelodi Sundowns is successful. Don't forget to subscribe.